Welcome to the Beacon by Soul 33 teachings for your past, present, and future. Good morning, everyone. It is the 3rd of July here in Auckland, New Zealand. It is the day of the supermoon. If you're listening to this on the Beacon app or on YouTube or on Spotify, please like, tag, share, subscribe. Let people know that this platform exists. It really helps me to be able to create more for you at such a minimal cost of being on the app for only $60 a year. I'm so grateful to have you here as part of your spiritual journey to guide you every week on what your energy is in terms of your focus, because what I do, trademarked exclusively to me, is soul progression therapy. And so I do these short energy forecasts each week so that you have a greater understanding of what is being asked for you and are not just aimlessly walking through life. So last week we started out the week with the focus being on making connections and creating a link. Now I have to admit, I struggled with this the first 3 or 4 days of the week. I really went very insular the weekend before. The weekend before this Monday mantra, I started to go very insular, and then that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I felt a great disconnection from myself, from everyone around me, and I really had to figure out, okay, why has this connection broken? What is it that I am needing to do now to create the connection back? And it was all in relation to the previous Monday mantras around rejection and resilience and life force energy. It was all connected to that. And so when I started to come right, I realized that I had been sacrificing certain parts of me in order for others to cope or for others to be put first. Because we are moving into a new month this week and we're already halfway through the year, it's a real time of like figuring out our connections. Who are we connected to? Are we connected to ourselves? And I mentioned last week, and I realized as I was going through the week what Spirit was on about, we have had to make sacrifices, and some of them are sacrifices that can help us create more abundance. But then when I put the reel up on Instagram, it was a day where Spirit was telling me that the sacrifices had been a bit too much in areas where it's caused disconnection. So this is where we needed to find the connection back. So what were you connecting to last week in terms of relationships, connection to yourself, connection to God, connection to Source? Who or what was it? And it was also around honoring your worth and honoring the worth of other people. So this is where you may have started to feel it also, is that are people recognizing how valuable I am and what a privilege it is to have me in their lives? Or am I being used in some way, and which therefore I'm sacrificing a part of myself? Say, for example, if you're the one that's always supporting people. So what was coming up was very transformative because it was a deeply insular week for me until about Thursday, where my energy started to peak again, and I realized that I needed to connect back with myself that day. The defensiveness is something that I brought up quite a lot, excuse me, last week. Now, initially, it was about defending ourselves. When we hear someone saying something, our initial thing is to get defensive. But what happened as I was progressing throughout the week and seeing what was coming up with clients, it was a defense mechanism that was energetically there, causing a disconnect between whatever it is that you're trying to connect to. So I've been noticing with clients that a lot of people's guards are really coming down, especially the guards of clients that I've been working on for years and years and working with. When I say on, it's because I'm always working with energy, so I'm working on your energy, but working with you. And I'm like, you need to start connecting back with yourself, because remember, the spiritual journey is something that takes discipline. It takes commitment. You can't just, like I always say, you can't just go once and think, oh, was that it? Or like, I needed more. You need more because you need to start connecting back to yourself to figure out what is it that I'm actually seeking, because nobody's going to be able to give you the information that you're truly wanting until you start digging and looking within yourself, which is through the process of meditation and all your other spiritual practices like self-care and finding that connection back with things that you're passionate about. So last week we really were bridging the distance, but you may have felt the extreme opposite of that, where you just felt so far away. So really reflect on that, on where you are needing to commit with your strength to be able to find that connection back in your relationship with yourself, back in your relationship to spirit. And you're being asked to look beyond the physical and look at what your intuition is asking you to sacrifice in order for you to achieve what you want in the long run, but also have you sacrifice too much of yourself. So there was a lot that happened last week energetically, and I was really being tested, like about how and where I'm creating connections and with whom. And the survival part of me that has had to rely on myself was completely resisting it. That's the defense mechanism. So because I'm always aware, where was this coming up for you last week? And the hardest place to try and make a link is when you lose trust or are not getting what you want, because when you're not getting what you want, you start to control and you start to defend yourself from people letting you down. But creating that connection is key. That's what we're being asked to learn from when we disconnect, when we are experiencing distance within any relationship that we're having. Being honest about where you're at and why you're behaving the way that you are. I mean, we doubt others, not giving them the space to help us, and not giving them the space to step up. But even our spirit team, we don't give them the space to step up either, because we just lack trust. And this is in general what was happening. I could see the theme throughout everybody's sessions last week to some degree. So we have to connect and trust them, trust our relationships that we've chosen. Even when we can't see that trust in the way that we want, we have to know that we're building a connection for some reason that we may not understand now. Our defense mechanisms are starting to weaken, and this is a really good thing. A really good thing, because we're moving out of that unsafe place, that place where we've just had to survive, and it's preparing us for this full moon energy that we've got in the first part of this week. And because it's a supermoon, it's a really big release for us to start feeling safe on a deep soul level. When we move through the week, I pulled the Masters card, and this is because the connections we are making not only help us with the people in our lives, connecting with them, but it's also connecting to Source. Now, for those of you who are new, Source is the universe. Source is the place where our soul came from. Our connection to our spirit guides, our higher self, our relationships with everything. This is all starting to deepen, whether you realize it or not. And even to what we consume, what we're watching, what we're listening to, what we're eating, everything we're looking at and perceiving is an act of consumption. And even our connection to that is changing. And the defensiveness is not just in our conscious reaction to people, but it's in how we've been protecting ourselves from deepening our connections. We have been so afraid of love, when it's the thing that most people crave love. Some people will reject it, some people will sabotage it, but the truth is that we need to be vulnerable, because we prefer to live in the illusion that we are unsupported when actually we are supported. And things are changing. We are getting closer. And when I talk about closer, I'm talking about the closeness in our connections to everything and everybody. We begin to build a defense mechanism rather than just being in the flow and trust to be receptive to the possibilities. And the underlying feelings and soul experiences we've been through have made us lose trust. Like, there's so many past lives that came up last week where people are really struggling to find the correlation. So spirit will bring them up in order for me to clear. So for example, I can't remember who it was I was talking to, but I think it's someone that I'd been seeing for years, and suddenly the situation in a past life came up where this person had had issues with their sibling, and then they're having the similar issues with their son. And it's like, well, we haven't addressed the sibling situation yet. So how are you going to address your son? Because this is coming through your ancestral line. So it's like the defense mechanisms were there, but not being in that receptivity of the possibilities of why things are the way that they are. Why are these experiences playing out through another person when actually the source of it is from another person a generation back? And this is the connections we're making. So when I was talking about connections, it's not necessarily about people and things. It's about joining the dots, becoming closer. If we want closeness, we need to step into it, and that takes discipline and sacrifice, sacrificing our fear. So where do you want closeness in your life? So when that Masters card came up, it was to remind us to become deeply connected, to step into that connection of more, wanting to fully live and understand your life. And for me, the connection to spirit is what gives me the trust to be closer to everyone and everything, because I trust that everything that spirit gives me, everyone that spirit gives me, is for my highest good. And, as we're looking at making these connections, it's really important that we look at our connection to ourselves, about making sacrifices, because I've realized as moving through my life, I give a lot of myself. And so what do I need to do to come back to myself in order for me to be able to give more and connect more? And also the other part is, I'm noticing when I'm speaking to clients now, we're cutting through all of the fat and getting straight to the point, challenging the status quo on why you thought you were coming to me versus what you actually came for. So really important truths are coming out. I mean, your defense mechanism is tired and is wanting to close the distance of how have you, contributed to this distance. Like, that's what the distance is requiring you to do, is how have you contributed to making the distance? So if you're going to put this into a practical example, if you're experiencing distance in your relationship, how have you contributed to that? And that will be something to do with your defense mechanisms. Connections break to form stronger ones. So when you feel a disconnect, you're asked to create a stronger connection. And you might find that having a stronger connection with spirit, source, soul, God, universe, is going to give you a stronger connection in your physical life. And that for me is 100% true. It's just that some of you haven't quite reached that understanding yet, which will come from your discipline and your commitment to your spiritual growth. Some with the same person, when you're making a connection again, for those of us who are meant to be in relationships with certain people, but sometimes it's not with that person and you're being asked to connect with someone else or something else. So there's a lot to really think about in the recap for last week. But remember, all of my Monday mantras transition from one week to the other. There's overlap. So it's always important for you to look back and understand the story that's being told. Now, I am always here to support you. There are different ways to see me and connect with me. If you're wanting a soul ceremony to see me in person, these are very limited and exclusive. A lot of international people are booking even for next year and booking flights and hotels. So if this is something that you want to work with me and be in my energy and receive healing and really progress your soul, please email Kieran at soul33@gmail.com to request a soul ceremony. And if the finances are an issue, there are different tiers in the way that you can see me. Ascension Seeker spots where you're not in the main wait list, where if you haven't seen me before and you want to see me sooner, there are the regular wait list spots. And going on that list, there are mini readings if you want 3 PDF questions that you get a brief guidance back via a PDF. There are soul magics. That supermoon energy is powerful this week, so I highly recommend getting a soul magic for acute energy shifts or calling in. These are spells, okay? And I work by helping clear the energy through my magical and powerful abilities to be able to call in what you want or clear obstacles. So these are an amazing way for you to accumulate that energy, because anything with the spiritual journey is not just a one-off. How you saw me when I first started doing this work at 33 and now going into 41 at the end of the year, I'm a very different person. I'm more powerful. Everything, my spirit guides move me and graduate me every year to be able to do more for you. Your personalized meditations are an amazing way for you to heal, align. I do, that's pretty much like a session for me when I record those. So any way that you need support and the different tier levels to help you with whatever you can afford, Kieran's the person to ask, soul33@gmail.com, or go to the website www.soul33.com. Moving into this week's energy. The Monday mantra is, I focus on my personal priorities and creations. I focus on my personal priorities and creations. So on Saturday, I think it was Saturday, I was going to visit my beauty therapist. Now, my beauty therapist I've been seeing for years. She does all my, waxing and things like that. And on the way there, I decided to, I don't know why I did this, because I just said it out loud. I was driving by myself. And I said to my spirit guides, I said, I'd really like a sign that you've heard what I asked for last night. And got to my beauty therapist's salon, and I went and lay on the bed waiting for her to come and, do my waxing. Now, I've been going to her for years and years and years, and she often has the television on because she does hair and all kinds of things there, so, people are entertained. And so I was lying there waiting for her, and then on the TV screen popped my sign. And this is something that I have recently been asking for, and it was a very specific person that I've been asking for, and it's a very obscure thing. Like, not many people would know about this person, but the sign came on the television screen, and it was the person that I'd asked Spirit to connect me with the night before. And I looked at my beauty therapist and I said, do you know who this person is? She said, no, I've never seen this person in my life. And I said, and I told her the story. She's like, well, I didn't put it on, so there we go. You've got your sign. So, with going into this energy this week, I focus on my personal priorities and creations. Lord Shiva's energy has been coming to me a lot. Now, those of you who remember that photo of me with the blue light coming through my head, that was me connecting to Lord Shiva, and Lord Shiva is coming up a lot with me. Like, I literally am feeling him around me, and, he is the ultimate creator and destroyer of things that don't serve you anymore. I mean, there's much bigger mythologies about him. There was presence of his energy on earth about 300 or 400 years before Christ was here. And so that energy is old, and it's primal, and it's strong. And as we start this new month with the supermoon energy, this is why I put the Kingdom of Shiva's energy meditation up for you as your homework. It's because his energy is supporting us as that deep source of connection to help us with our personal priorities and creations. I keep these Monday mantras as short as possible because there's lots of complexities which I don't talk about because it would go on forever. But we want to be connecting in with these teachers. Now, I've often say this to clients, I don't really believe in gurus. It's not that I don't believe they have things to teach. I just don't believe that it's necessary to put a human being on a pedestal in that way, because we are all connected to source. We're all connected to source, and sure, there's things that we need to be taught by people. I mean, I'm a teacher also, but I don't want to be put on a pedestal in that way. So we have not had a supermoon like this since August last year. So it's a real potent stir up of being disconnected, Shiva breaking things down, and then things being cleared in order to reconnect and find our link back. And we want to be grateful for the lessons, the teachers that come our way that naturally teach us, that we don't go seeking, like putting up on a pedestal. I just feel like we all have that connection. It's just a matter of that commitment and that perseverance to not expect something in return from demanding knowledge. Like someone recently was demanding knowledge from their spirit guides. Why have you given her spiritual awakening and not me? That's not the way to get it. You just have to trust the natural flow, because that's how you get your connections back. Emotions have started to run high, and it started early last week, and we're preparing to purge through the supermoon energy only with what doesn't serve, because emotions perceived as negative have a lot of power that we can actually use to transform us. So some of it does serve in our progression, even if they're harder feelings. We're taking some downtime this week before the pace picks up. So you might actually find yourself doing things a bit differently than you normally would, moving away from the norm somehow. But that, again, is for you to prioritize your personal creations. So often people call me about money and work. And I have to tell my clients, my gift is beyond that. My gift is like, I can talk to the source and let you know what it is that you need to heal in order for you to bring in what is there for your potential. It's not fortune telling. It's not hand reading. It's not, tea leaf reading. This is something so deep that I do that you need to actually come prepared with what is the truth for me. How is this going to bring me back to my personal priorities, which are your soul priorities, so it can all come back into alignment? If we think about a balance sheet, this week is like an accounting balance sheet. This week we are balancing up the ledger. Relationships are bonding where they're broken apart. The connection energy from last week is transitioning into this week to help stitch stronger foundations. Some things may have burst at the seams. So this is what I mean, using some of this energy as the power to progress you, and knowing that Shiva is helping destroy things to recreate these personal creations and these personal priorities. So bring your attention to your personal priorities this week. So what are your personal goals? What do you want to feel? What do you want to create? Nurture the things that you want to grow where you have neglected yourself, using that life force energy to grow areas. So for example, if you're someone that has everything, right? You're someone who's got all the things on paper, and this is not by no means not everybody's thing, but it is most people's thing. And this is based on the number of people I've seen. Most people want a relationship, they want children, they want a successful career, and then they think that that's it, that your soul just stops there and there's nothing more to you. That's actually when you have the opportunity to break through the societal norms and go, what are my personal priorities? So when I'm talking about personal priorities, I'm not talking about, I want to get fit and I want to eat healthy. Sure, that's the superficial nature of personal priorities. I'm going beyond that. Where is your life force energy going? What is it that you're trying to do by being here on earth? And you might find that when you stop, your energy has been leaking out to other things that don't really matter at this point, and the parts of you that have felt rejected is what has caused the disconnection, and your personal priorities are to bring that connection back and to create with that life force energy we were talking about a couple of weeks ago, that sexual primal energy, that you have a chance to do something over, to build a stronger foundation, to be curious in your relationship more, or your relationship energy, to align to what you have. And if you are in that position that you have already everything that you want, please don't think that that's all there is. There is so much more. So that's probably when you want to really start being observant with what your soul is asking of you and what your connection is to source. Nourish what you've got and don't take it for granted whether you've got everything that you want or you don't, because it's through that nourishment, through balancing up the ledger, that there's going to be more personal priorities coming to the surface that you never thought there could be, and more to create. You might be focusing on a part of your life that needs more growth, and back to deepening that connection. So you might have a really great relationship, but you're deepening some aspect of it that requires that right now. You need to have the courage to stop all the distractions that you've got and to go towards the things that you want with the energy of nourishing them. So nourishing, nourishing, nourishing. Discern, and the word discern, very carefully what you want, because we have the power to influence everything in our life, and we want the possibilities to choose from. And your meditation practice will show you your focus, and the signs of prosperity in your life will begin to show, just like how Shiva is already, for me, showing me what I need to know to keep my personal priorities and my larger creations as my focus at the moment. Be really clear and decisive with what you're wanting. You are the master of your destiny, and the universe will help you with your co-creation. So with your homework, you've got the 2 full moon ones that you can do right up until Wednesday, and then change them out to whatever else resonates with you. I would highly recommend that you get a personalized meditation. You can progress your soul in your own time, and they start to deepen the more parts that you get. Now, you are here listening to me for a reason, and that is because you are going to start understanding that your personal priorities goes beyond what you're wanting for yourself. It is what you're wanting for your soul. So keep that focus. Go towards nourishing what you want. Look for the signs of prosperity, and connect in with yourself, your source, relationships, and nurture the things that you want to grow. Very powerful week with the supermoon. Supermoons and full moons are usually, releasing, but this is releasing and a real power towards your creation. Soul ceremonies, ascension seeker spots, emergency sessions, regular waitlist soul magics, personalized meditations. There is a service to help support your spiritual growth based on any of your affordability. So get in touch with Karen, soul33@gmail.com. It is only $60 per year. There's no other app that is like this in the whole entire world, where there is a medium that is, and a healer that is this much in demand, here to help you in this way on an app every single week. So use and extract every bit of information that you get. The way to listen to the Monday mantras, listen about 3 times a week for Monday, Wednesday, Friday, because things change and you might have resistance towards some things, and then you'll see how things are connecting. It's to be looked at with curiosity. It's not to be looked at like how most people come to me, oh, this hasn't happened yet, or that hasn't happened. It's not about balancing up the ledger in that way. This is about balancing it up and where am I nourishing? What am I doing? Where am I growing? What have I neglected? So when you're looking at or listening to the Monday mantra throughout the week, that's what you're looking at. You're not trying to prove, you're trying to be aware, observe, and grow. I focus on my personal priorities and creations. So do that. All the power to you, and I'm here for you.